Thank you all for being here today. I want to share with you a concept that resonates deeply within me, one that many of us can relate to on both personal and universal levels. It's about the journey of a comeback, not just any comeback, but a transformative one that changes you in profound ways. This kind of transformation doesn't stem from sheer human will or sheer force. It occurs when we walk hand in hand with God. When we embark on our comeback with God, we don't simply return to our former selves. We emerge as something entirely different. Life has a way of knocking us down. For some, it comes in the form of loss. For others, it may be failure, heartbreak, betrayal, addiction, depression, or deep disappointment. We all experience those moments that leave us breathless, lying flat on our backs and staring up at the ceiling or the sky, asking, "Why me?" These are the times when we feel forgotten, unseen, and unworthy. We question whether we will ever rise again, if we can find our way back to who we once were, or even if we should. But here's the essential truth. The goal is not to return to who you once were. The goal is to come back transformed, stronger, wiser, deeper in faith, and more compassionate. Such a comeback is not achieved through willpower alone, but by surrendering our journey to God and allowing Him to reshape us amidst our trials. God is not merely in the business of restoring what was lost. He is in the business of transformation. He desires to elevate you beyond your previous state. He wants to heal your wounds, not just for your own sake, but to use those very wounds to heal others. This is the incredible power of a divine comeback. It doesn't just piece you back together. It makes you new. Take a moment to consider Joseph from the Bible. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. His life was filled with betrayals and setbacks. If anyone had a reason to feel bitter, it was Joseph. Yet, through it all, he never wavered in his trust in God. When the time came, he didn't just return, he came back transformed. He rose to a position of power in Egypt, not only for his own salvation, but also to save the very brothers who betrayed him. That's what God does. He takes intentions meant for evil and turns them into good. Now, you might find yourself in a similar pit right now. It could be an invisible one that no one else recognizes. You might be carrying burdens that keep you awake at night, or feeling shame that attacks your self-worth. You may be wondering, where is God in all of this? I want to remind you that God does His most profound work in the dark. Seeds grow in soil, not sunlight. Diamonds form under pressure. Gold is refined through fire. So if you find yourself in the flames, do not despair. That is exactly where transformation begins. When you walk with God through your lowest moments, something sacred starts to unfold. You begin to see life from a different perspective. You cease to define yourself by your failures and start seeing yourself through God's eyes. Beloved, redeemed, chosen. You come to understand that your self-worth isn't dictated by your performance, your financial status, or your past mistakes. It is rooted in the reality that you were created in God's image, that you were bought at a price, and that absolutely nothing can separate you from His love. When this transformative truth seeps deeply into your soul, you cannot help but change. You will not emerge from the fire the same person. You will walk differently, speak with more grace, love with greater depth, and listen with increased compassion. You will come back not just with a story, you will come back with undeniable power, a power that originates from God working through you. Let's be clear, a comeback with God often requires time. it is rarely flashy or instantaneous. There will be moments when it feels like nothing is happening at all. But beneath the surface, in the unseen places, God is constructing something eternal. He is renewing your mind, healing your heart, and teaching you to trust Him in ways you never thought possible. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, yet beautifully, you begin to change. You start to forgive those who have wronged you, not because they deserve it, but because you refuse to remain imprisoned by bitterness. You find joy in the small moments, a sunrise, a kind word, a silent prayer, because after tasting darkness, you come to cherish the light. You will start to share words of hope with others, not from a theoretical standpoint, but from your lived experiences. You will be able to look someone in the eye and say, "I know what it means to feel hopeless. I've been there, but I came back, and you can too." This is the ripple effect of a God-centered comeback. It doesn't just impact you, it extends into your family, your friendships, and your wider community. It becomes a testimony, a living demonstration that grace is real and that God is not. Finished writing your story. Some people mistakenly believe that coming back means regaining everything they lost: the job, the status, the relationships, the health. Yet sometimes, God's greatest gift is not in restoring what you lost, but in presenting you with something even better, something eternal. He may not replace the specific things you've lost, but He will restore your peace, your purpose, and your identity. And that, my friend, is the most powerful form of comeback. When you come back, you will possess a deeper faith because you've learned to trust God, even when everything seems senseless. You will return with resilience, having weathered storms that have taught you how to stand firm. You will hold empathy in your heart because your experiences with pain have softened you rather than hardened you. Your vision will expand because you have witnessed God's movement in the wilderness. You will walk with greater humility, having learned that you cannot navigate life alone, and you will re-enter the world ablaze with purpose because you've discovered God walking with you through the flames. Your life will become an altar, a sacred space where others can encounter God simply by being near you. Your journey, your scars, and your story will all point back to Him. They will proclaim, "Look what God can do. If He did it for me, He can certainly do it for you." This is the kind of comeback the world desperately needs. Not perfected lives pretending to have it all together, but rather broken individuals who have been redeemed, flawed people who have been forgiven, and wounded souls who have been healed. These are the individuals who can boldly declare, "I am not who I used to be, and this is not because I tried harder. It's because I walked with God." A comeback with God may not always look impressive in the eyes of the world. It may lack the accolades or headlines, but it carries immense weight in the spiritual realm. It has the power to shift atmospheres and change generations because it is rooted in something eternal. So, wherever you find yourself right now, whether at rock bottom, halfway up, or still climbing, I want to assure you that God sees you. He has not forgotten you. He is not finished with you yet. Your setback is not your conclusion. It is the fertile soil from which your comeback will bloom. And when you walk this path with Him, you will not simply return. You will come back transformed. You will gain clarity as God opens your eyes to what truly matters. You will draw strength from Him as you lean on His power rather than relying on your own. You will gain purpose as your pain awakens your calling, and you will find love because you have encountered a God who loves you even at your lowest moment. And you will come back to find peace, not because life is perfect, but because you have placed your trust in the one who holds your future. I recognize that many of you are weary. I see that you carry burdens that remain unseen by others. But I urge you, do not give up. Do not count yourself out. The valley you are in is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of something beautiful, something new. If you surrender your brokenness to God, He will construct something stronger than you ever imagined. If you entrust Him with your shame, He will envelop you in grace. If you confide in Him with your doubts, He will respond with unwavering faith. If you walk alongside Him, you will not merely survive, you will rise. And when you do rise, you will carry the fragrance of someone who has been with God. You will be marked by mercy, clothed in compassion, and ignited with purpose. So today, I am inviting you not just to hope again, but to trust again. Trust that with God, your narrative is not over. Believe that, regardless of what you have lost, the mistakes you've made, or the places you've been, you are never beyond redemption. The same hands that formed the stars are the ones reaching out to you now, ready to pen a new chapter in your life, restoring us to a previous state. Instead, He desires to transform us into something greater and more profound. In God's eyes, the aim is not just restorative, it is transformative. While restoration suggests a return to a previous condition, transformation implies a complete renewal, something brand new that has been elevated and refined. When we approach God in our brokenness, He does not simply mend our fractures, He reshapes us entirely. He redefines our existence. He takes our mess and turns it into a meaningful message. What was once shattered becomes redeemed, and what was weak is transformed into a vessel for His strength. The Bible is replete with stories that illustrate this transformation. Consider Saul, a man who relentlessly persecuted Christians. Had God merely restored him, Saul might have ceased his violent actions. However, God transformed him into Paul, one of the most influential apostles in history. Saul did not return to his former self. He emerged as someone entirely new, boasting a renewed heart, purpose, and destiny. Now consider Peter. After denying Jesus 3 times during his moment of greatest fear, Peter was consumed with shame. A simple act of restoration would have relegated him to being just another follower. Yet, Jesus had more significant plans for him. Peter was transformed from a fearful denier into a bold preacher who helped establish the early church. What changed within Peter wasn't merely his talent or effort, it was the incredible power of God working through his life after failure. What differentiates a God-centered comeback from any other kind is this. In the world, a comeback may center around success, image, and achievement. In God's kingdom, however, a comeback is rooted in depth of character and eternal significance. God isn't looking for superficial fixes. He craves heart-level change. The beauty of transformation is that it is enduring. It cannot be undone by circumstances. It does not rely on external achievements. It is a work God performs deep within our souls. Sometimes, however, we resist transformation because it can be uncomfortable. Growth inherently involves letting go of pride, relinquishing control, and abandoning old thought patterns. It often requires confronting pain instead of avoiding it. However, it is during these fiery trials that God shapes us, just as gold is purified through heat, refining our faith through challenges. God, the master potter, molds us into vessels fit for His glory. Transformation leads you to come back wiser, not just restored. It fosters greater compassion, not mere functionality. It nurtures humility, not just healing. And it gives rise to testimonies, not just clean slates. It means that the very experiences that once broke you will become the source of someone else's hope. So, if you find yourself in a season of brokenness, don't merely pray for restoration. Ask God for transformation. Surrender the fragmented pieces of your life to Him, not so He can patch them, but so that He can create something entirely new. With God, a comeback is never merely about returning to what was. It involves stepping into what can be, something deeper, stronger, and eternally beautiful. We often strive to avoid trials at all costs. Pain, disappointment, loss, and failure feel like setbacks, interruptions, or even punishments. But what if these trials are not detours from our divine purpose, but rather essential paths leading us toward it? What if the very places where we feel buried are actually where God is planting us? In God's hands, trials are not wasted. They become the fertile ground for growth. Consider this. No seed ever flourishes merely by sitting on a sunny windowsill. It must be buried in darkness, under pressure, and in complete isolation. That's where transformation begins. What appears to be death can actually signal the dawning of new life. This principle applies to our lives as well. As we navigate through trials, it may feel as though we are stuck or hidden. Yet in reality, God is working in profound ways beneath the surface. The Bible is full of individuals who have experienced this process. Look at David, anointed as king, yet he spent countless years fleeing from Saul, hiding in caves and living in fear. Those years were not wasted. They were his training ground. Similarly, consider Moses, who spent 40 years in the wilderness after fleeing Egypt. To the outside world, he appeared to be a failure. Once a prince, now a fugitive. Yet during this time, God was preparing him to lead an entire nation. His isolation became his preparation, and his trials laid the foundation for his future success. The same is true for you. Trials test your faith, but they also build it. They stretch your capacity to trust, reveal your weaknesses not as points of shame, but as opportunities for healing, and strip away false securities so that you learn to rely solely on God. When you lose what you thought you could never live without, you find the one you truly cannot live without: God Himself. James 1:2-4 states, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Trials are not merely obstacles to your maturity, they are the very pathway toward it. In the natural world, soil contains essential nutrients that feed seeds. Likewise, the soil of our trials often nurtures spiritual growth, humility, endurance, patience, faith, and surrender. These qualities are not cultivated in comfort. They thrive in hardship. We do not become more like Christ through ease, but through surrender and suffering. It is in our trials that we discover our true selves and who God is. When everything else is stripped away, when our plans shatter and our strength dissipates, that's when God reveals Himself to us as our comforter, provider, defender, and healer. Trials create space for divine encounters that will change your life forever. However, growth through trials is not automatic. We can choose to resist the process, becoming bitter and hindering our progress. Or we can lean into God, trust Him, and allow Him to mold us. The choice is ours. The pain is real, but so is the purpose. Every trial can become a pivotal turning point if we allow God to work through it. So do not despise the season you find yourself in. Do not curse the soil. Even if it feels dark, heavy, and lonely, trust that something is growing. God is undeniably working behind the scenes, shaping you into something beautiful, resilient, and powerful. Allow Him to guide your comeback, and in doing so, you will emerge transformed and renewed. Let that chapter begin today. Let it be a story of a comeback, one that is holy, that defies the odds and silences shame. A comeback that carries weight, purpose, and glory, not because of who you are, but because of who God is. And when you do come back, and you will, do not apologize for the fire that transformed you. Do not hide the scars that made you wise. Do not downplay the journey that brought you to your authentic self. Allow your life to speak. Let your story shine and reveal to the world what it truly means to come back different with God. When we contemplate making a comeback in life after loss, failure, heartbreak, or personal sin, our natural inclination is often to revert to our previous state. We yearn to become whole again, to restore a sense of normalcy, to pick up the pieces and reconstruct our lives as they were before everything unraveled. However, we must remember that God's ways are higher than our own. He is not merely interested in. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to stay updated with more motivational content. Like, share, and comment to support our work and spread the message.